evidence that the veil is lifting. Reality is shifting. Things have been changing really fast over these last few years. So much so that we often find a mirroring effect taking place between what's on media, movies, television, commercials. This is just one more example of how that veil is lifting and reality is shifting. And the times we are in now are unlike anything we've ever seen before.
I talk about this because I was repeatedly bumping into trip reports from people who were telling me that they had seen jesters when they take dimethyltryptamine. So that was kind of my first hint that something strange is going on in the spirit realm involving clown-like entities. Clowns have always been representations of demons. Always.
Right.
And it's done on purpose. So why? Why do this? And I realised, well, if you go to these folk traditional cultures all around the earth, they have this practice where they communicate with the ancestors.
Yeah.
And to do this, they dress like them. You dress like things to channel the spirits of those things. This is how spiritual warfare actually manifests in the physical world. This is how it actually works, you know. We're dealing with disembodied spirits, and these are the methods which are used to channel them. To wear the costume of something actually is quite a serious spiritual practice, especially to most other cultures around the world. We just don't know that in the West. When these films come out, it's always just before Halloween, and they think, oh, we're spooky season, why wouldn't they bring it out around Halloween? But what they're actually trying to do is get people ready to dress like it during that period of Samhain, which the Celtics understood was when the veil is thinnest between our realm and the spirit realm.
All of this stuff completely makes sense when you look at all of the archetypes that have survived through the ages, through the different societies, through the different civilizations. There's very similar things happening all over this place at different time periods, but they're exactly the same.
First of all, why does everybody have a fear of clowns? I've never even thought about it until you tied it in with the spiritual realm and say like nightmares, right? Why would we have nightmares of a clown if it wasn't something that was like innate spiritually in our world?
1 in 10 children actually like clowns. It's odd that the fear of clowns, which is called colorophobia, is actually really common.
This whole clown, trickster, jester, joker, fool allegory is directly connected with prehistory and the religions that roll down through history. And so this is a worldwide understanding of where these demons come from and what they do.
The basic understanding, it comes from Genesis 6, and it says that the sons of God came unto the daughters of men and bore offspring, which were giants, mighty men of renown, heroes of old.
And looking at these cultures and their representations, like Paul, I've got your stream up right now, and just looking at the slideshow of everything, the masked cultures, the tribal cultures, their shamanistic dress and everything, it corroborates what these beings would have looked like and are described and carved in some of the most, what we know as ancient places.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's done in many different ways depending on the culture themselves. So some cultures are more veneration and channeling of the spirits through wearing things like costumes and masks, which stereotypically we would say have clownish features from a Western perspective. And then some other cultures are what we call apotropaic, which means they're actually wearing these costumes to try and scare away evil spirits, and keep the place clear of evil by dressing like evil. Right. And my argument is, and always has been, they can't both be right. It makes you start to consider that it looks like they all seem to experience at some point encounters with similar looking entities. And the stories behind these entities is that they were rulers of some way or tyrants of some kind. And this is what we're dealing with when we're talking about the Nephilim. And a lot of my work is an anthropological study of all of these cultures all around the earth, and I'm threading together the similar vein they all have when representing their version of a demon. I think in Japan, the Oni is actually the most closest thing to a Nephilim that we can actually get in terms of a representation of what the Nephilim specifically would have been like. That's actually extremely similar to the masks worn of the dragon masks in China. And the Hindu Rakshasa demons as well. It's identical to them. It's also identical to the Greek Gorgon Medusa, which was a half-human, half-reptile hybrid.
These representations of human-reptile hybrids are by far the best examples of the Nephilim I found in my research so far, similar to representations of vampires in later Western mythology. Another festival of Bali which depicts the Rakshasas is a strange parade which takes place on the eve of Yepi Day in Bali, Indonesia. Uga Uga are the statues which are created and normally take the form of mythological beings, but mostly demons. In Thailand, a yak is a giant demon, an ogre, colossus, monster or titan. In every European culture, they have this thing called a wild man tradition. It doesn't matter where you can go to Portugal, all the way down across to Romania, they all have the same tradition. We call this today Bigfoot, these sightings of these wild men, but they've always been there, and you can find European depictions and stories or encounters with wild men everywhere. And this is what a Harlequin is based on. This is where the Harlequin character came into the Comédie de l'Art.
Black and white is a very common theme. If you type into Google now, Heyoka tribe, that's basically what I saw in my vision, a black and white lined thing like that, you know.
The Hopi Kachina dolls, too, are very clown-like.
Voodoo is another example of this. It's Haitian practice. It's satanic worship, basically, that emanates from Africa. Carnival, in all its forms, is truly a pagan fertility ritual. Ancestor spirit worship is a worldwide phenomenon. It's not just to one geographical location. Every continent has tribes who traditionally, in their own oral traditions, which they've been doing for millennia, venerate the ancestor spirits. What they venerate are ancient beings that were here long before them, who they believe are the progenitors of their culture. So what they're doing when they worship their ancestors is they're venerating the Nephilim spirits on the other side, who were once the kings and rulers over these ancient cultures. I do believe all cultures all around the world, not just specifically the European ones, have a way of representing these demons through their folk traditions. And they in fact created shows specifically to venerate their own stories and rituals within the Masonic rites.
They're almost always presented as dark and weird and sinister, and I mean, it makes more sense than you realize.
And I'm sure you probably have many examples of films and music where you've seen this aesthetic yourself. But I have done this in my series, and I could go on for hours about it. But you'll find the clown aesthetic is very prevalent right now in the modern age, in clothing, in music, and in film. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's all by design. Now I see the demonic clowns a lot. Spy Kids, Death Note, the movie called Clown, yeah, that's an obvious one. Scooby-Doo, absolutely. Yeah, once you know the theory, you can't unsee it, unfortunately. You realise, yeah, they're kind of all over the place and always have been all over the place, that's for sure. And the music industry is full of it. It's ridiculous. Like you said, it's went on way longer than you thought it would.
In movies, they often wear masks and during rituals, assuming there's a connection there. And so it seems like a lot of this, what your research has led you to, is that this is not random. Because I sat down today thinking that you stumbled across this, and it just so happens that the Nephilim look like clowns.
And all of these are pretty much identical with the Pan God. I understand all the literature and the entertainment is designed to overload you with occultism and a specific view of where they want you to go. And they're telling us in advance of what they're going to do and what's going to happen.
And it's really unfortunate that it's embedded into, stuff that we like films and music.
But we could go on for hours about all these things.
I think listeners now understand this topic can keep unraveling and unraveling. It is so intrinsically linked into our reality. And this is what Paul Stobbs, our guest here, talks about on his YouTube channel, Understanding Conspiracy. But his book is also published, and it's titled The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns, Volume 1, The History.
My family used to think I was crazy, but thanks to The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, they know I'm crazy. The Nephilim Looks Like Clowns. It's no laughing matter.